The show where there are no penalties, nothing is offside, and everything is fair game. This is The Gloves Are Off.
Welcome to another edition of The Gloves Are Off. I'm Moses Woldu. Thank you for joining us this week. We got great topics, of course, Labor Day, and what can you say about the CFL? A lot of great games, ugly jerseys, well, some teams anyways, but we'll get to that in a second.
Ugly
of course,
jerseys?
well, a few of them had some interesting ones. Calgary's actually looked pretty nice, but...
Looked like a bowling ball for a helmet, though.
well, that's John Cornish. He has a name.
Your head is a bowling ball.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of which, yeah, no
Straight
kidding.
up
Bowling
here,
balls.
Greg Buchanan, how are you?
Not bad, not bad.
Excellent, and we're pleased to be joined by this week Matt Choumont with New Cap Sports. What's going on?
Not much. Having fun. Thanks for bringing me back.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll talk about the Labor Day Classics, and we'll begin with the first game, the big game that was with Saskatchewan and Winnipeg. Of course, this one finally, unlike the last few seasons, was actually a classic by every sense of the word. Winnipeg came back in the second half, taking a lead, and Saskatchewan, needing a last-minute drive, about 2.5 minutes to go, ended up winning at 35-30. Now, what impressed you the most about this game? Was it the defense, Ricky Foley, the play of how he performed when they double-teamed John Chick? Was it the play of the running backs? Was it the play of Darian Durant being smart with the football? What, to you guys, impressed you the most?
I'm going to say Darian Durant. Playing with a sore hand, like you said, he played very smart. He didn't take any risks running out of the pocket. He ran when he had to. Finding Tosh Smith for that game-winning touchdown. He looked pretty good with a sore hand where his index finger kind of controls everything.
I think more than anything, what's surprising me about the Riders this year is that we always count them out, and as a Rider nation, always likes to be as negative as we can. But there's so many times this season that you thought, there's no way we're coming back. There's no way we're coming back, and they came back. And there's still some concerns in the game, because we haven't played against the Stampeders yet. Again, that negative aspect of the Riders Nation is looking at that. But you know what? They find ways to win. And I think that proves leadership with Durant, at quarterback. They're not doing anything flashy with the offense, but at the same time, no turnovers. And that's the important thing, where you got to have, the only way you can be effective offensively if you have the ball. If you don't have the ball, well, you're not going to score. So the Riders keep that ball, and they end up
How
winning.
important is that three-headed monster, guys? You look at it with Jerome Messam, you look at Allen, you throw in Ford as well. It seems that they're doing it by committee and really have found, I guess, replacements for Corey Sheets. Do you think this will continue, knowing that this is a team, second halves this year have rushed an average of about 100, 120 yards in a half? Not in a game, in a half. That's got to be something remarkable. Can they keep that going?
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty funny that it takes 3 guys to replace Corey Sheets, but it's working. They all bring a different look to the running game. Messam's just straight north. Anthony Allen can bounce to the outside if you have to, and Will Ford has that outside speed. So it's working so far. I think it's going to continue to work, and it just helps out Darian Durant a little bit more.
What's going to be fun about the Three-Headed Monster is coming October, November, when it gets cold, you're not going to throw it as much as you do right now, and the Riders aren't anyway. All of a sudden you have that ball control offense where you can punch and keep on punching it down the field, control the offense, control the clock, and if you have 3 guys that can step in, that's great. Okay,
in one word, how do you describe Weston Dressler's debut with the Riders this season? 3 catches, about 28, 30 yards, not bad.
I don't think you judge him by one game.
But
once he gets more of the offense under his belt, that's a big change. He has the waggle now. He didn't have the waggle down in the NFL, so he has a little bit of jump off the line of scrimmage, so it's going to help him in the CFL. But it's going to take a bit of time for him, and that waggle was, a few times I thought it should have got flags on it, but the Riders always seem to get away with it.
One word, I got 75 there, Matt.
Rusty.
That's all right. That's convincing. All right, well, talk about a guy who's kind of shaken off the rust, John Cornish and the Calgary Stampeders. What can you say? He rushed for 136 yards yesterday, a couple touchdowns, but I don't know if it was Calgary's dominance so much as maybe Edmonton giving a few plays late, because offensively, Matt Nichols looked pretty decent, controlling the ball. You looked how they did. It was all right. It was good. It was good enough. I know they're missing Mike Riley, but still, Matt Nichols is a good substitute, a good backup, and a guy who's helped this team. However, I thought a few issues was special teams, because it kept drives going for Calgary. A couple late penalties, a couple issues. And you saw when Bo Levi and the Stampeders offense have the ball for an extended period of time, this team is going to A, waste time, and B, score. So with that said, is this defense or offense, sorry, for the Calgary Stampeders molding at the right time and should be, I guess, the most intimidating force out of all the offenses in the CFL as we speak?
I don't think they're the most intimidating, but they're right up there with Saskatchewan because I think Saskatchewan has the best.
Even though they have the
running
worst,
game.
Saskatchewan has the worst passing.
That's okay when you're
offense.
running the ball down teams' throats.
Ball control.
Exactly, they're killing the clock. But you know what? Yeah, Calgary did all right. They got the W like they deserved, but I don't think they got the most scariest offense.
Cornish is scary with the ball because there's so many times there on Monday you thought that he's maybe going to rip off maybe 3 or 4 yards. Looks like he's going to be pulled down. And all of a sudden he gets through a couple of tacklers and he gets about 6 yards, 7 yards. That's huge. Instead of getting 3 or 4, you get in 6 or 7. That sets up for a second down, second and short. That's all you want.
Opens the playbook a little bit more.
So I Cornish, of course, adds a lot to the Stampeders offense. But don't forget, the Eskimos didn't have Riley in the lineup. They didn't have Stamps in the lineup. Both those two guys should be in the lineup on Saturday. That changes everything for the Eskimos. So you'll see a different Eskimos team on Saturday.
And especially those interesting jerseys that they unveiled today.
Oh.
What do you think of those logos that are just right in front of the chest?
Well,
I don't like that at all.
I think the helmet logo, when you go online, folks, and look at it, the double E on the helmet, I think you can see it from basically Vegreville because it's
Ranford.
Well, it is.
It looks
it's
nice. I
oh,
like that.
I like it.
It's just I'm not comfortable with those
The
double
jerseys,
E's on the
yeah.
front. Makes Ottawa's another team that
But
did the same thing.
you can-
Winnipeg as well.
You can
Toronto.
say everything you want about the Eskimos jerseys and the Stampeders helmets, but the Winnipeg Blue Bombers jerseys are by far the worst I have seen in pro football.
Those helmets are
Those-
just as bad.
Yeah, they're
that
horrible.
whole look is just terrible.
Yeah.
Well, see, it's been hit and misses. But I'll tell you a guy who's, well, I won't say missed, but you could almost say that. Michael Sam, Jeff Fisher and the St. Louis Rams took a gamble on him, saying, you know, he's a defensive player or co-defensive player in the SEC. He's got some legitimate credentials, but it wasn't enough to crack the 53-man roster or even the practice roster for the Rams. If he goes unclaimed, we hear the Montreal Alouettes are interested. Michael Sam hasn't talked to the Alouettes yet. They own his CFL rights. Do you think it's wise, if things don't seem to pan out in the NFL, that he comes north of the border and tries to excel? Because he seems like he's more of a tweener. He's not quite strong enough to, or big enough to be a defensive end, but he's too big to be a linebacker. I think he's a perfect fit for the Canadian Football League. What do you guys say about that?
First of all, doesn't it seem like the Alouettes have claims or on
everybody,
everyone?
yeah.
Tim Tebow was
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, he's young. He's going to get bigger. He's going to get better, faster, stronger. He's going to make an NFL practice roster somewhere down the road. He doesn't need to go down to the CFL and maybe, I don't know, you don't want to say wreck his career,
No.
but, you know,
But there are a
stick
lot of
with
guys.
the
But there are a
NFL.
lot of guys who've actually come up north of the border for some whatever reason, didn't get picked up in the NFL, and then 2-3 years later down the road have excelled. Cameron Wake is a prime example of that, doing very well with the Miami Dolphins.
You know, I can see him, you know, if he wants to further his pro football career. And what's going to happen to the NFL, it's a bit of a circus act with him. Okay, before he went to training camp, he made a deal with Oprah to do his reality show, didn't tell the team that. Shows up and all these cameras are there. That did not please the St. Louis Rams, did not please the NFL. They didn't want a circus act at their training camp, and they got it. You know, whatever it is. But at the same time, teams don't want that. So likely, you're not going to see any NFL teams take a leap towards bringing him in. So he might be coming up north.
Hey, it might seem like appropriate that they have the reality show with the Montreal Alouettes. They already have Chad Johnson. Might as well go with a guy named Michael Sam. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we return, we're going to talk about the NHL plus a few other rumblings within Major League Baseball. Blue Jays, can they make the playoffs? Well, stay tuned.